As of today, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, has been shut down. A small fraction of its programs and personnel will become part of the State Department. This week, former Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama and rock star Bono spoke to thousands of USAID employees, hailing their accomplishments and criticizing the decision to dismantle the agency. Now, a new study in the medical journal The Lancet estimates that USAID funding cuts could result in millions of additional deaths in the next 5 years. They wrote, quote, according to the forecasting models, the current steep funding cuts, coupled with the potential dissolution of the agency, could lead to more than 14 million additional deaths by 2030, averaging more than 2.4 million deaths per year. These deaths include 4.5 million among children younger than 5 years, or more than 700,000 deaths annually. Samantha Power is the former administrator of the agency during the Biden administration. She also served as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations under President Obama. I spoke to her shortly before air. Ambassador Power, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement, quote, this era of government-sanctioned inefficiency has officially come to an end. Under the Trump administration, we will finally have a foreign funding mission in America that prioritizes our national interests. How do you make the case to people that USAID's previous mission was in the United States' national interest?
Well, USAID did so many things in so many places, and national interests were affected in a whole range of ways. When USAID built lab capacity in developing countries in Africa, that meant it was easier to spot a pathogen before it became a full-fledged pandemic. And we saw in West Africa the work of USAID in stomping out the Ebola epidemic at a time when one person had come to the United States and brought Ebola, but at a time where, had the Ebola pandemic spread further, many, many more could have come.
Secretary Rubio had in the past, prior to the Trump administration, praised a lot of these efforts. His argument, and the argument of the Trump administration, I guess, is, well, the State Department can do most of this. It's better under the State Department. It's going to be less politicized. It's going to be more efficient.
Well, first, it's important that the facts actually be stated in the context of Rubio's claims. They have cut 80–90% of the life-saving programming going on overseas. It depends on the program. We can go through specifics, but whether it's HIV/AIDS or malaria or TB, right now there are families not getting malaria bed nets even as they prepare for the onslaught of mosquitoes. That's going to mean hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of kids who are at risk of dying from a mosquito bite. That's not something that any American should tolerate. But what Secretary Rubio continues to state publicly is that the life-saving assistance is continuing. It is not. What he is saying is false. So far, what he has done in the name of efficiency is cut this life-saving programming, and as the Lancet study shows, it does not just a retrospective on the lives that have been saved, it also warns that 12 million lives will be lost, 2/3 of whom are kids under the age of 5, if these cuts continue. So efficiency, we're all for efficiency, but actually taking away programming that is saving lives, programming where people have relied on the American stamp of and the trust of the United States and the trust of USAID, that's just devastating.
I think, some people out there kind of think, well, look, these problems just are endless and they just keep going on, and we don't see progress on it, which is simply not a reality. Child infant mortality has been cut in half, which is an incredible achievement. I've talked to Bill Gates about this. He's helped fund it. USAID has been a huge part of this. And there were predictions that in the next 10 years, it might be cut in half yet again. I mean, which is, millions of children who could be the next Einstein or, just decent human beings living lives and contributing to their societies. You've seen progress. I mean, there has been progress in a lot of areas that is now, it seems, in peril.
In the health domain, the progress is measurable on malaria, on TB, on the 25 million lives saved by virtue of President Bush's PEPFAR program. this is progress every American can feel proud of, and
that's
the vast majority of global health progress.
Let me just jump in. There's
Please.
25 million lives saved because of PEPFAR, which is, as you said, George W. Bush started this. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing. I mean, I've seen this. This access to retrovirals, access to HIV treatment, it has saved, more than 20 million lives. That's an extraordinary thing. What is going to happen to those people? Because the administration says, well, PEPFAR is going to continue.
But it's not. They've fired all the people who administer the programming. All across Africa, you have nurses and health workers and people going out to educate communities who are no longer being paid, who no longer are able to do this work. So again, the first important thing to do is to set the record straight. The programming that the Secretary of State says is continuing at scale is not. It has been slashed, and it is now unrecognizable in the communities where it was saving all those lives. If it can be resurrected at the State Department, again, every USAID fan of USAID or worker at USAID would celebrate the relaunch of this programming that has been so valuable, not only for those lives saved and all the work and good that those individuals go on to do in their communities and their countries, but also for America's reputation. I think this is the part of this discussion that has not gotten enough attention. It's the extent to which the State Department, the Defense Department, the intelligence community, the people going out in pursuit of America's national interest every day, those people are able to leverage the work that USAID has done to win hearts and minds, to change lives. And we can't quantify what it does to American foreign policy to take away that soft power bonanza that USAID brought over those years.
Ambassador Power, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Anderson.